Hi everyone, I'm Carly. This is Zoo to You Virtual Safari. It's Thursday and we're featuring a species we have yet to talk about in all the months we've been doing these virtual safaris. So I'm really excited and I hope you are too. I want to quickly say happy National Zookeeper Week. The zookeepers are the ones who make these virtual safaris possible. So I just want to give a special shout out to every single one who has volunteered to be on camera for these, because I know they're not their favorites, and for all the people who have been behind the scenes covering for the ones who are doing the lives, because it takes a lot of work. And there's one of those zookeepers right now. So that's Jordan. So thank you everyone. Make sure you're wishing our zookeepers a happy National Zookeeper Week in the comments. They really appreciate it. They do a lot of work to make sure that these animals are happy, healthy, and are there to inform and entertain you as well. So let's get started. We're actually going to be featuring Cape buffalo today. They're one of the first animals you see when you come into Denver Zoo, but I don't think a lot of people know too much about them. So we're going to learn a little bit more about Cape buffalo today with the help of Jordan and Kelsey. Nancy says, hooray for Denver Zoo's zookeeping crew. You guys are the best. We agree, Nancy. So this is Jordan and this is Kelsey.
Hello.
You've seen them both on some of our lives, and here are our Cape buffalo.
That's right.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Jordan.
Absolutely. So right here we have our matriarch of the herd. This is Rain. So we have 5 Cape buffalo. All of them are females. Rain is our matriarch, and she has 3 daughters in here. She has Felicia, who is the oldest, who Kelsey is feeding over there. And then her other 2 daughters are Petal and Pancho. They got their names named after Rain. They also had a brother named Drizzle, who is now at another zoo.
Aww.
And then our 5th and final buffalo is Cindy, and she is right here in the middle. She has the hairiest ears of all of them, and she is unrelated to all of them.
Okay, so Aunt Cindy is kind of like the Aunt Sabi of the lion crew.
She is, yes, and she plays a great role and is the best aunt ever. She helps take care of the babies when we've had them, and does a great job.
In the back there,
yes.
Who's who of the sisters?
To the left is Petal, and she just turned 4 years old. And then to the right is Pancho, and she is 2 years old.
2 years old.
Yes.
Pancho is our one born over Labor Day weekend.
Yes,
correct.
She is. That is correct. Yes.
Cool. So 2 years ago, we had a pretty busy Labor Day weekend here at Denver Zoo. We had a Okapi and a Cape buffalo born.
That's right.
So
yes.
They're about to hit their 2-year mark.
That's right.
So what are you feeding them? Everyone's always so curious.
Yes, I am feeding them what we call horse candy. It is a horse treat, and Kelsey is doing another type of horse treat called apple and oat. So this is one of the buffalo's favorite treats that we give them, especially Rain's. So Rain is pretty picky. Surprisingly, these buffalo do not really like any types of produce, unlike a lot of our other animals. They love their hay, and they love their grain, and they like these horse treats. So our nutritionist has approved these kind for them, and that has been really beneficial in helping train the buffalo. They're very smart animals, and we've been able to do quite a few different things with them.
Very cool. So let's talk about where you can find Cape buffalo in the wild.
Yes, you can find them in Africa. So another name for them is actually the African savanna buffalo, also known as Cape buffalo. So they are in Central Africa, in that savanna region, anywhere from Kenya all the way up to Algeria and Zimbabwe and everywhere kind of in between. And they, as with their name, and Cape, actually you can find them down in South Africa as well. And so they live kind of in the grassland, and they will travel more into the bush area during the drought, but most of the time you can find them around water. As you can kind of see on the back of Rain, she's very muddy right now. Yes. Usually in the afternoons on a hot summer day, you will find these guys in the wallow at the front of our exhibit. And they love to roll in the mud, especially Rain here, and then Cindy's our other culprit for always being muddy and stinky.
I bet after these treats they will go right to that wallow, because it is a hot, sunny day.
Yes.
Luke is 7. He wants to know, how sharp are their horns?
That is a great question, Luke. So their horns actually aren't too sharp. It's hard to tell, but they've kind of been dulled. But they're very strong, and they can use them. In the wild, they might use them to protect themselves against lions, and have been known to actually gore lions. Here at the zoo, they don't actually keep them that sharp. They will kind of use these bars to sharpen them a little bit, but they're not overly pokey. They're just very, very strong.
Are they a predator species or a prey species?
They are a prey species. But But what's unique about buffalo is that they do not run away from predators the way that other prey species do. They actually will stay there and fight. So what they'll do is if a lion or other predator is coming to attack, usually they'll try to attack the young or calves because the adults are so big and strong. The adults will actually form a big circle around the young calves and put out their horns to kind of act like barbed wire to keep the predators from coming.
Very cool. So would a lion really want to take on a Cape buffalo?
They will. A big pride of lions if they are hungry enough. And they'll usually attack older males that are by themselves or young calves.
Lydia and Ethan want to know, how much do they weigh?
That is a great question. So we cannot actually weigh any of our buffalo here. They're too big to support any of the weigh boards that we have. But when we have been able to weigh them, we had a 8-month-old baby that was about 600 pounds.
Wow.
And a male that was about 1,900 pounds. So these girls are somewhere in between. My guess is Rain is about 1,500 pounds. And she is our biggest, and all of the others, my guess would probably be around 1,000 pounds.
Wow. Let's see. Let's talk about how you tell the males and females apart. I know it has something to do with the top of their head.
It does, yes. So unfortunately, we do not have a male here to compare to, but if you look at their horns, the females still have a little bit in the center, which is what is called a boss, but on a male, it is a lot bigger and almost armored and looks more like a helmet. And males are always bigger and more muscular, and that's probably the best way to tell. Rain, are you gonna come back?
Rain's like, well, maybe I've had enough.
I know.
Treats.
I'm sure she'll come back. She's our most dominant, so sometimes she likes to make sure that none of the others are stealing her treats.
So Emily loves coming to Denver Zoo. She loves the Cape Buffalo, so thank you. We love when we have fans. She wants to know how you tell them apart.
All right. So front and center right here is Miss Cindy. And she has the hairiest ears, and she has that hairy beard. That is the best way to tell Miss Cindy apart. And then to the left is Felicia. It's hard to tell right now, but she is always our cleanest buffalo.
I can tell, especially next to Rain.
Yes.
She definitely looks like that.
Yes. So she's kind of our little princess, we like to call her. If she ever gets muddy, she only gets her head muddy. She doesn't like the wallow, which is very uncharacteristic for buffalo. And she is probably the least hairy kind of all over.
Hey everyone, sorry about that, technical difficulties. It's a slight bit too sunny and hot out here in Denver today, so that's why we went dark there on the live. So we're still here with our Cape Buffalo. It's still National Zookeeper Week, so keep thanking our keepers in the comments. We love to see all the love for them because we know they make such a big difference in your visit here too, so we really love to see that. So we're going to get back to talking about our Cape Buffalo. We're just going to be kind of in a little bit more of a shady spot because it's really hot out today and really, really sunny. So it forced the phone right into the overheat. So we'll get right back to it. I think we were talking about the difference between our 5 Cape Buffaloes, and then we had a really fun question about what are all the features in their yard. So we'll be talking about that, but leave any other comments and questions you have in the comment section. So thanks, Jordan. Thanks, Kelsey. We're going to try to get back here and keep it a little bit cooler.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start over with how to identify him. So this time I'm actually going to start with Rain, and she's the one walking towards us, and she is our most dominant. And the best way to tell her apart is usually she is covered in mud on her back, and she is our biggest buffalo. And if you ever see keepers out, she will be the one who will be coming back for treats. She loves treats and loves to train. And then over here to our left, we have Miss Felicia. She is Rain's oldest daughter, but she's actually about 9 years old. And she is, like I had said in the past one, she's our cleanest buffalo. So she does not like the mud wallow like our other cows do, or our other buffalo. If she ever gets in the wallow, she usually only gets her head dirty, but never the rest of her body.
She is so clean.
She
looks like she gets freshly brushed every day.
She does look like she gets freshly brushed. We call her kind of like our little princess. And then behind her is Cindy. And she is the auntie or the unrelated one to all of them. And the best way to tell her apart is her very hairy ears and her hairy beard. That's probably the best way to tell her apart. And she is always usually in the wallow with Rain as well. And then we have our 2 youngsters over here. We have Miss Petal, and she is the one who is 4 years old. She also has hairy ears similar to Cindy, but they are not as long as Cindy's hairy ears, and she's still a little bit smaller, and she has long hair that goes all the way down her back, kind of like a warthog. She kind of kept that as that usually our the calves keep that, but she somehow kept it as an adult. So that's Miss Petal. And then our last one is Pancho. She's the one taking a little potty break right now. And the best way right now to tell her apart is she has the smallest horns. They're just not as developed just because she's only 2 years old. They'll continue to get bigger as she gets older. But she is actually as tall as Rain. So her size can't really help you anymore. The best way is just to look at her horns.
Yeah. Hi, Karen. You're welcome for restarting. We're sorry about the heat and the cell phone. It's summer here, so things get hot really fast.
Yes.
Let's see. Maria wants to know, in the wild, do only female and their offsprings live together in a herd? Where are the males?
That is a really good question. So yes, normally you will only have mostly females and their offspring, and usually one male that is part of that group that kind of controls them. Every now and then, if the herd is big enough, there can be a couple males within it. So their herd size in the wild can be anywhere from, you know, a half dozen or so, all the way up to 500. And they have found during the wet season, a herd can even get as big as 2,000. And in that case, there would be more females.
Tess wants to know, are there any bulls in our herd?
There are not right now. So we shipped our male out. He went to another institution probably 3 years ago at this point. So right now we just have these 5 lovely ladies.
5 lovely ladies.
Yes.
Let's see. Someone had asked, have we sent any calves to other zoos?
We have, actually. So we have sent 3 other calves that we have had, those offspring from our last male, to other zoos. And Cape Buffalo have been a long part of Denver Zoo's history, and we have sent them to past zoos as well.
So this is a comment I hear when I walk by Cape Buffalo a lot. People assume these are water buffalo.
Yes.
Are those terms interchangeable, or are they different, and what is the difference?
They are actually different. So Cape Buffalo are African, or African savanna buffalo. Water buffalo are actually native to Asia. So that's more of what you hear, that it's the Asian water buffalo, and they are domesticated. So they can be used as part of livestock and farming and agriculture, whereas Cape buffalo are far too dangerous. They cannot be. They have never been domesticated. They have more of a temper. So that is the biggest difference, is they live on 2 different continents.
Karen wants to know, when did the horns start growing?
They start growing in probably about 3 months. They start getting little buds, and then they just keep growing from there. So Petal is 4 years old, and she hasn't even gotten, hers will still get a little bit bigger. They'll probably end about 5 years.
Wow. Yeah. So it was very easy a year ago to tell who our 2 youngest were.
Yes. Because
their horns were still smaller than all the other 3.
Yes.
But at different sizes. So I could tell them. Emily says, I remember Tamale. Who was her mother?
Yes. Tamale, her mom was Felicia.
Felicia. So Rain's granddaughter.
Yes. Great question.
Great memory, Emily. So yeah, that was for her. And then there was another question here I wanted to see. Oh yeah, the features in their habitat.
Yes. So as you can see, we have all different kinds of things in here for them. And we do that because these guys are actually really smart animals. They have great memories, and they're good problem solvers. So we have a couple different things. You see their feed troughs back here. That's where we put their hay. And as you keep going to the right, we have a couple different scratchers for them. And that's so that way they can kind of brush off flies and insects, but also the mud that gets caked on them that they really like to utilize. Sometimes you'll see them really going at it and scratching their little behinds. In the center of the yard, we just have what we call like our deadfall centerpiece. And that is mostly so we can hang different enrichment items for them, and also protect a tree that we're trying to have grow. Because these guys are so strong and known for just knocking down any type of shade we try to give them.
Yes, they are so strong.
Yes. So we like to hang different things for them, and they love to spar with them. They'll use their horns and shake it up and down. And then over to the left, we have a few different types of scratchers. They love those fire hose strips. We had fire hose donated by local fire departments, and Kelsey, who's over here too, I kind of helped build that. And they love to run through that, kind of like a car wash. And then that scratcher over there, kind of the same thing. They love to just use it as a good way to get all that mud off.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. I can't really zoom in without losing the quality of the picture. But through that chain link is a scratcher. It's kind of like what you'd find at a car wash to buff your car.
Yes, and so that's good. It was donated from
so it's very, very bristly and really comfortable for them. And then a lot of people always ask, can they move those logs around in the middle of the yard?
They can, yes. We have come in the morning and found over half of them kind of around the yard when they've had a party the night before, when the buffalo have had a party. But usually they try to leave them alone. It's a good distraction to try to keep them away from the little tree we have growing. So they usually will just move around on the outer ones. And then every morning when we come in to service their yard, we move them back.
And then we can't see it from where we're standing, but they have a wallow and they dig that out themselves, don't they?
They do, yes. So we have helped them a little bit to make it a little bit bigger, to make it fair so more buffalo can fit in it. But they actually have done a really good job of making it themselves.
Yeah. Let's see. Hi, Maria. So we don't actually have exact weights on our Cape Buffalo. We kind of answered this in our first round before we overheated. But we assume Rain, it's probably somewhere about 1,500 pounds.
Yes.
And everyone else is in, you know, the 1,000, maybe 1,100 pound range. So they're very heavy and they're very strong and very dangerous, which is why we have this fencing and those barriers to protect us from them.
Yes. Oops, sorry, Felicia.
So...
You can see Pancho over there using his
Oh yeah, let's go. There's Pancho using her scratcher. Who wouldn't like one of those installed in their own house for some back rubs?
Get it, Pancho. These guys are almost always up to something. You know, sometimes you'll catch them in the heat of the day where they're all lying and digesting, but usually when we walk by, they're moving around. And every day when we come into the yard, all of their toys and enrichment are usually in a different place of the yard.
Yeah, so, they are pretty active. And then they've got, are those feeders hanging up there, or are those just sort of to knock around?
A little bit of both. So they're just feeders, and sometimes we'll put toys in, or I'm sorry, food within them, but also they just like to toss them around with their horns as well. So a little bit of both.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, Rain in particular seems to really like the dishes that are hung.
Yes.
Just likes hitting them around with their horns.
Yes.
They just like to kind of knock around things and kind of know their own strength.
They
and
do.
Do that type of thing. So besides all the kind of horse candy and apple and oats biscuits, what's part of their diet?
They get grass hay. That's predominantly part of their diet. And then they get a specific type of grain that is designated kind of for, it's called mega herbivore grain, that is specific to these big species. And otherwise that's kind of it. They're not big produce eaters. We've tried so hard. During seasonally, they love pumpkins. They love to squash them and eat them a little bit, but they just don't really like apples and carrots, unfortunately, no matter how hard we try. So really, they sometimes will eat browse or different leaves, but they love their grass hay.
It's okay. I don't like produce either, so we have that in common.
Yes.
Let's see. Someone wanted to know, are there going to be more babies? Well, we don't have a male, so
Right. Yes.
not right now.
Not right now. Maybe one day.
maybe one day.
Yes.
And then what is the average lifespan of a Cape Buffalo, and how old are ours? We know Pancho's 2 and Petal's 4.
Yes, so they can live to be anywhere from like mid-20s to 30s. The world record is actually 34 for one in captivity, and that was at Oklahoma City Zoo. She was actually a great-great-grandmother to some of ours. But Rain is 12, and as is Cindy, and then Felicia is 9, and then 4 and 2.
Very cool. Are they really smelly?
They are smelly when they get out of their wallow, and I will have to say their poop is quite smelly. It's probably the smelliest of any of the animals I work with. I would say a lot of the animals we work with, their poop is not very smelly, but buffalo, they're a special kind of smelly, I'll say.
Well, I know a lot of hoofstock have sort of like very like pellety, dry poo.
Yes.
But I can't really see it, but I can see it from here. There's some nice buffalo chips in the yard.
Yes. But they make up with it in their cuteness and their entertainment for us. So these guys are really fun to work with. They can be challenging at times just because of they're known as one of the big 5 in Africa as being one of the most dangerous to hunt. So they do have a temper on them, but they're very motivated, and we've worked really hard on building relationships with them, so they trust us. So we're never in the exhibit with them. We're always separated, but we have built a really great training program with them. Rain actually knows how to paint. They get their vaccinations voluntarily, and they're just overall great animals.
Very cool. I'm going to make our last call for questions. So if you have any more, we've covered what they eat, what they weigh, why they're not water buffalo, their ages, who's related to who. So if you have anything else, put it in the comments. Megan, if we get another male, that will be up to the SSP. Frequent Virtual Safari Watchers will know what that is. It's the Species Survival Plan. It's a team for every species that are in zoos, almost all of them, that determine who's going to mate with who to keep a genetically diverse population in zoos. And so it depends on who has the space, what females have breeding recommendations. So it's not really up to us. We're just waiting to see if we get assigned a male. What are some of their personalities like?
Oh gosh, they are all full of personalities. So Rain is our most dominant. She's very bossy, but she also is a big scaredy cat. So if we sometimes will put new toys in here, she is always the first one to run outside, but if she sees a toy, she'll kind of be like, oh God, and run back in. And then usually she has to wait for Cindy, who's probably our most brave, to walk up to it. And then Rain thinks everything is fine and acts like she was the one to discover it first, even though that's not the case. Let's see. Felicia is very sassy. She acts sweet at first and then has a little sass. And she kind of likes to pick on her younger sisters, Petal and Pancho. Not too bad, but a little bit. Miss Petal is the sweetest little cow. We like to compare her to little Ferdinand the Bull.
Oh, I love that
She
book.
is just, yes, she's so sweet. Sometimes scared of her own shadow, but as she's gotten older, she's gotten a little more brave and confident. And then Petal is just little Miss Independent. She still loves to follow Rain around and do her own thing, but she takes advantage of being the baby, I'd say. And loves to play with toys and different enrichment, and they're just all pretty silly. And Cindy is definitely our most observant. She always notices when things are different in the yard, or when somebody decides to wear a costume to the zoo. She is the first one to know and lets everybody else know.
Very cool. So we'll rapid fire these last couple we've gotten. Maria says, what do you mean with temper? Would they attack when approached?
They would. That is a good question. A little bit loaded question. We don't know if they would attack when approached because we don't approach them.
Yeah.
They do not attack the fence when we approach because we've built that relationship. But in the wild, they are known to have a temper and potentially to attack.
Nancy's wondering if we know if they can see in color.
I believe they do have some color spectrum in their eyes. I know that they can see red, and I believe they can see like red and yellow are big ones. Mm-hmm. And potentially a couple other colors.
Yeah. Nikki wants to know, do you collect fur for spinning?
Ooh, no, we don't.
Like fur?
Fur for spinning.
They don't really seem to have really very...
No.
Yeah, they don't really drop or
they
shed
don't really
hair.
Drop. Every now and then we'll find little tufts just from, typical shedding, but it's not like other animals that lose big amounts.
Christina is wondering, do they have any competitors for food in the wild?
They do, but not too bad. I mean, they eat grass. They're pretty, what am I trying to say? They're grazers, so they just eat grass when luckily there's a lot of it. So they don't really have to compete too much compared to others. I'm
probably getting some of my terminology wrong, so let's make sure. But males are bulls and
yes.
females are
cows. Yes.
All right, there you go, Karen. Sarah wants to know, why do they roll in the dirt and mud?
They roll in the dirt and mud to protect themselves. It acts as a good sunscreen and a fly repellent.
Ooh, yes, we need some of that today.
It's a lot stinkier than our sunscreen.
Yeah, but probably a little less chemically.
That's right. Yes.
Well, that's all the questions. Thank you so much. Don't forget, if you come to Denver Zoo, think of Zookeeper the next time you're here, even if it's next week. They always still like that because they do work hard all year round. We just like to especially highlight it on a week like this. So thank you to Jordan and Kelsey for keeping the cows entertained with our Cape Buffalo here. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you've learned something new about this awesome species. People walk by them all the time. So just make sure you spend a little more time here at the exhibit next time. Read the signs and learn something about Cape Buffalo. And Rain said, no, you're getting too close to my treats.
Yes,
Is that Felicia?
Yes.
Yeah, I could tell. She's so clean.
Yes.
So thank you to everyone. Have a great day and stay safe. We'll see you soon.